So thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. The next item on our agenda, I wanted to take a moment to recognize. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, that was getting the YouTube live going.
All right, well, I'd like to take a moment to recognize two volunteers of our community who have passed away recently. The first is former Chatham Township Mayor Bailey Brower Jr., who passed away, peacefully on Saturday, October 8th, 2022, at his home after a short illness. He was 94 years old. Bailey lived his long life in Chatham Township. He graduated from Madison Academy, which was Chatham Boroughs High School, in 1945. He volunteered for military service during World War II and served under the 8th Army Command in Yokohama, Japan. Bailey graduated from Princeton University with the class of 1949. In 1951, he married Nancy Tasman Brower, also known as Taz, and together they had 4 daughters. Bailey and Taz co-founded and created the Noe Pond Club in 1955, a unique family-oriented swim club built on the old Noe Farm Pond. It was a success and provided families with fantastic recreational opportunities and lifelong memories. Bailey served as Chatham Township Committeeman from 2003 to 2014. Deputy Mayor in 2006 and 2007, and Mayor in 2014. Member of the Board of Adjustment for 10 years and the Planning Board for 7. He was a life member of the Chatham Township Historical Society. He was a member of the Board of Directors, National Swimming, Recreational, and Swimming Association. Bailey was a dedicated Princetonian. He attended every Princeton-Yale football game from 1945 on, missing only one when he was serving in the Army. Bailey was a Red Cross volunteer since 1955 in the Health and Safety Division, including certified lifeguard, water safety instructor, first aid instructor, and CPR instructor. Because of Bailey, Chatham Township is the wonderful community it is today. He will be greatly missed. May he rest in peace. Additionally, longtime Chatham Senior Center board member and volunteer Vincent Volpolicelli passed away on September 28th, 2 days shy of his 88th birthday. Vince graduated from City College of New York with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and then a Master's of Business Administration from the Stern School of Business in New York University. He served as an officer in the U.S. Army. After 3 years in California working for Lockheed Martin, Vince spent the majority of his professional career at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. He eventually became responsible for all physical structures in Newark International Airport, where a road, Via Volpolicelli, was named in his honor. After Newark International Airport, Vince became executive director of Atlantic City International Airport and served as the acting director of aviation in the state of New Jersey during the first Gulf War. We thank Vincent for his service. May he rest in peace. All right, we're now going to move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Sorry,
Oh.
hold on a second. Did we get, I didn't see the block party ordinance. Was that pulled out?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then I saw the zoning board of adjustment. Okay, I'm good.
I'd like to pull out the 286.
Supporting car theft legislation?
Yes.
Anything else? Is there a motion to
I move that we approve
approve the,
the agenda as amended.
okay,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, so our township committee reports, for the most part, it should be from the last meeting. We had all the department heads here providing their own long reports, but if anybody has any additional report.
Yeah,
Okay,
the senior center has given me a lot of updates that I wanted to share.
Great.
First, I wanted to thank our long-term board members who stepped down, Gordon Granger and Ruth Muir. They have decades of contribution to the senior center, and they will be greatly missed. Gordon kind of reflected on the days when he first started up the senior center at the Methodist Church, and they would meet 3 days a week over there. Long-term, very valued members, and they will be missed. The shred event was successful, and not only did they raise money, but they met a lot of older adults who have never been to the center. They were able to give out newsletters and talk about the activities. So they were very excited about both aspects of that event. There are more slots for the evidence-based online weight management program, Eat Smart, Weigh Less, Move More. It's free to Morris County seniors 60 and over. You can call the center at 973-635-4565. October 27th, Thursday at 3:30, you can get tech support. Call to sign up for that. They're also offering a new watercolor class Thursdays at 10. A new grief support group starts Tuesday, November 15th at 10 a.m. November 21st, they're starting at 1 p.m. a stamp collecting group, and you can get more information online or if you call about all the wonderful programs that they have at the senior center. Madison Chatham Coalition met. They're in the process of updating their modeling, so they're outreaching to various constituents. So I connected them with our administrator and with our rec director. As I mentioned at the last meeting, their $125,000 a year grant funding was re-upped for the next 5 years. That's federal funding they receive to serve our community. So that's wonderful news. Just want to remind everybody it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Remind your family members to get their mammograms. I want to say happy Diwali to everybody who celebrates. And I wanted to make residents aware it's also Diaper Needs Awareness Month, and there will be drives in Chatham to collect diapers for families that can't afford them otherwise.
Thank you.
I have some.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, I'll start with the DPW, and they're always so busy, so this is a little bit long.
Well, didn't they provided the report at the last meeting?
Was that the same? Okay, so then I
But
won't
the
go into
public
that.
doesn't see
Well, let
that.
me just,
No, that was public
Oh, that was public.
and it was recorded.
are you talking about the October 3rd?
Yeah, the last meeting was
Well, that I
recorded.
know, but I mean the detail report that they provided. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I do have one item that I'd like to mention
Oh.
anyway from them. It wasn't from them, but it was. The item was that the DPW helped Jessica Romeo and the Environmental Commission by planting a pollinator garden at the Shunpike Field. So, and plus all the other wonderful things that they did.
Wonderful.
Oh, wait, I got some more. On September 28th, the New Jersey Historic Trust Board of Trustees voted on its recommendations of grants to 2022. The Historical Society of the Township of Chatham was recommended to receive a grant of $266,000 for the exterior restoration of the Mount Vernon School, which is also known as the Red Brick Schoolhouse. The Garden State Preservation Trust reviews the board's recommendations and submits final recommendations to the state legislature and the governor for their approval. And then with the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, there's going to be a library program with Amy Lewis of the Westfield Health Department. And they will be, the program is put life back in your life. Take control of your health. It's a 6-week program covering topics such as diabetes, arthritis, high blood pressure, heart disease, chronic pain, blah, blah. Oh, I should say that, et cetera. Anyway, each program lasts 2.5 hours and refreshments will be served. And it's not until January 10th, either 1 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. And like I said, it's not until January 10th, so I'm sure you'll hear more about it before then. Seniors in need of assistance. Len mentioned that the weekly food distribution at the Chatham United Methodist Church has been seeing more seniors coming for food. Most of them live in the apartment complex west of the middle school. The apartments had a 10% rent increase in January and another 10% in June. With high inflation, this has stretched their Social Social Security checks thin and seniors come for food. Len asked committee members to bring this to the attention of any senior they know if they're in need, so that they can be given food. Also, a Meals on Wheels program, and some may qualify for that. I guess that's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you for your reports there. I only have two items. One is that the Joint Recreation Advisory Committee, which was scheduled to meet later in November, is now meeting earlier on November 2nd. That meeting is open to the public. It's at 7:30 p.m. It's in the media room of the high school. And it's November 2nd, which is a change. And that change just happened at the beginning of this week. And then the only other thing I have is that as a utilities liaison, the liaison from PSE&G, their representative, has asked for feedback. And so if any residents have feedback for me for PSE&G, that would be our gas and also our the right of way, the high tension wires in the right of way there. If you want to pass that to me, I would be sure to put that on my feedback survey.
Great. The only other item that I wanted to point out is that we added a meeting at the end of November. So our next meeting is going to be another workshop meeting that's on November 15th. And then a meeting on November 29th will be a regular meeting just like this.
I just want to take a quick moment. I have the Zoom up and the visuals are great and the sound in here is amazing. I just want to thank our administrator and our videographer for their work to get this back up and running. Everything looks really good.
Thank you. There's also Clark, Greg, and consultant.
Great job. Thank you.
Fantastic. It is a major improvement from what I've seen. All right, so now we go to the hearing of citizens. Currently, the committee room is open to the public and we look forward to having you join us. Additionally, this meeting is being made available for public participation remotely. If you're watching via Zoom, you may speak during the public comment session by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you are recognized to speak, please say your name, spell your last name, and give your street. As a reminder, all public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, we will wait until you finish speaking before responding. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment during the public comment period. Written comments submitted to the township clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments. Duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full according to the guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. Greg, has there been any written comments?
I do not have any written comments.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak?
Ron Rufino, Rose Terrace. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I would like to comment on Resolution 22-286, referencing the Claudette legislation. Unlike the previous administration that supported law enforcement with platitudes and cliches, this administration should be proud of its many accomplishments to support law enforcement. You have instituted a rigorous ad campaign of common sense practices for all residents to follow, arranged a presentation by the Chatham Township Police Department for the community outlining the criminal activity happening in our town in the overnight hours, and deploying the most up-to-date technology with license plate readers and cameras throughout the town to identify bad actors. It's wonderful that you are taking the next step in the process by letting Trenton know that we need help legislatively. But Senate Bill 3006 is not strong enough. 60 days of community service for first-time offenders is not an effective deterrent. The criminal actors know there are no real consequences for their actions, so activity continues. You have taken a leadership role in attacking this issue and on the cusp of stemming the tide. Please consider crafting a new resolution asking for stiffer penalties such as mandatory hold of first-time juvenile offenders, eliminating no cash bail, along with catch and release as just a few examples. I respectfully request that this resolution be temporarily put on hold so that it can be recrafted and reintroduced for adoption at a later meeting. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ron. I mean, I mentioned at the last meeting, I do agree that it's not strong enough, the legislation. My attitude is I just think that whatever can get passed as a bipartisan level, at the bipartisan level, get it passed. And that's pretty much been my attitude.
And can it always be changed later on?
At the state level, yeah, but it's just very difficult. So I think that's what we were talking about, right? The state level legislation. The
That's correct.
the Bucco Cody bill.
That's correct.
Yes. Right. I mean, I agree. Personally, I said this at the last meeting. I think it should go stronger. My attitude has just been, if it can get passed, I'll take it, basically.
Yeah, I think it's a good bill as part and parcel, but I think we send the wrong message with headlines in newspapers like we have had from surrounding communities where it seems as if we're doing something and grabbing at straws to do something, but it's really not the right thing. It's not enough. And we all know that. And I think to pass a resolution supporting something that we know is insufficient sends the wrong message to the public. I would move that we table this, but we can discuss that when the resolution comes or as the chair sees fit.
Okay. No, bye.
Joe Bezralian, Fairfax Terrace. Thank you, Mayor Felice, for welcoming BSA Troop 280. 11 members are here tonight, and they're here, as you said, because they're starting work on their citizenship in the community merit badge. That's a requirement if you want to reach Eagle Scout. And should I go to the other side? Should I go to the other side?
No, it's fine. It's these speakers are all too close to the microphone.
He does it, our administrator does it all. I can just say, one of the things that BSA asks scouts to do, requires them to do for this merit badge is listen for differences of opinion, because it's perfectly okay to have differences of opinion. And then we'll go outside and we'll discuss if we're hearing it. So and another part of good citizenship, as we know, is gratitude. So I wanted to thank you for your citizenship and your volunteering. Thank you, Scouts, for being here and all you do for the community.
Well, thank you, Joe, for all your hard work too, with the scouts. And I think it's amazing what you guys are really doing. It's fascinating to me. So for everything that you've done, I'm sorry, everything that you've done in the community, it's really, really appreciated, as well as all you guys. I know it takes a lot of time and it's a lot of work that you guys put forth into our community and making it a better place. And we really, really appreciate it. So thank you all. Do we have anybody on Zoom that wants to speak?
No hindrance.
All right, then I'm going to close the public comment section and you guys can still figure out what's going on with that. And I'm going to move on to the introduction of ordinances. Actually, we may need to wait a second.
Okay, keep going. I'll let Z play with it.
Well, I was gonna have Z give a little explanation.
We already did that at the last meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fair point. So the next three ordinances that we have coming, that we are introducing tonight, we discussed in a lot of detail at our previous workshop meeting last week. So if you have questions, you're welcome to review that. It should all be on YouTube. But can we get a motion to introduce ordinance 2022-13? Okay, and I assume there's no further discussion on this? Others? Okay, go ahead.
I had mentioned before that I had some concern.
Put your microphone.
I had mentioned before, I had some concern with nonprofit organizations being charged. And I thought there was some discussion for minimal kind of commercial level, budgets in order to decide how to charge. So most nonprofits, would be under that level.
I thought it was under waiver of fees. We put in there. The fees set forth shall be waived when filming is done by nonprofit organizations based in Chatham Township.
It is Chatham Township. I mean, that's what I had talked about. Personally, I actually prefer it overall, but if we can.
Overall, I saw like right before it, it's like it's $500 for the regular and then $100 for nonprofit, for regular nonprofits.
Because it would be captured. There was also discussion about that $2 million level. I don't know if that's what you were going to bring up, Mr. Lois, but in terms of, commercial entities that had a budget of 2 million or higher, because that would capture. Because if you think about it, if, it's breast cancer a month, if the Breast Cancer Society brought 3 people in to film a little clip, do we really want to charge them every day that they're filming for that, purpose? So it would get captured in that other, either the dollar amount, or I would be a fan of eliminating any fee for nonprofits.
And also children as well, so section 4-8.9
Yeah.
also talks about students,
Right.
grade school, middle school, high school, college.
It's waived for students. It's waived.
Educational.
My only concern with waiving it for all nonprofits is it could become problematic on, it may be one nonprofit that we agree with, but what if it's a nonprofit that you don't agree with? So where's the line?
What is a religious organization? Is that a nonprofit?
Yes. There's also other nonprofits that, there's some political organizations that are nonprofits. So that's my only concern. I'm all for it with waiving it for nonprofits based in Chatham Township, 100%. But that's my only concern with all nonprofits. And how do you differentiate between, it's like breast cancer awareness? Of course, we wouldn't want to charge, American Cancer Society or anything like that. But if there's another like more political nonprofit that they're like, no, you could pay.
So
Where's
as
that line?
the person that's going to be issuing these permits, I need an objective standard, not just, picking and choosing based on who somebody agrees with or disagrees with.
Right. The idea is to have some sort of objective standard, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure the dollar amount provides, they still have to pay. So no,
Right.
we can't deny them because we don't. like them.
Right. But we'd
Yeah.
be waiving their fee, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, my issue continues with this, that number one, I'm not really sure how the workshop feedback fed into this, because it doesn't contain, we did discuss having a minimum production value, a minimum production budget. And we talked specifically about the model from Red Bank that had that. And I haven't seen that flow down. I also don't see this addressing something like what we were discussing, like Ryan's World on YouTube, where somebody starts something and then it picks up steam and they're monetizing it on YouTube by either selling product directly or through ad-based sales.
It says a student, it says all the fees shall be waived if it's done by a student.
Right. But most independent films, once you get out of school, people are working in independent film. For instance, Clerks is what we had brought up before. $30,000 budget, $100,000 budget to make Blair Witch Project. are we going to stifle that type of creativity in these tiny productions? And I am concerned about that. I also don't see this ordinance inviting filmmaking. I don't see it inviting or in any way streamlining it. So this ordinance applies, just so the public understands, this ordinance applies to private property. This is filming permits required in the township on private property for any crew size larger than one would be my crude summary of this ordinance. And for me, I don't see the need for that unless we have some carve outs,
So are you making a motion to amend?
I would absolutely make a motion to amend, but I
Well,
will.
there's already a motion on the floor. We should address
Yeah.
that first.
What's the motion?
Madison, did you see, what did Madison and other towns charge with a similar ordinance? Are these fees?
I'd have to check again. I sent a request to all towns in Morris County. Madison was a bit different, with their whole downtown structure. Parsippany was the one that I felt matched most what we would need to do in Chatham Township. Morristown again was different because they have parking concerns.
So we don't know.
So we have a motion on the floor that is to introduce.
Yeah, to introduce it as is.
Okay, but he wants to make an amendment. He wants to make a motion
we
to
don't-
amendment. So how do we do that?
That's it, you just call them there for a motion to amend.
No, I would actually make a motion to table so that we could revisit this because I do not. think
Is there
that this is-
is there a second?
I'm fine with tabling it second.
Okay, so there's nothing pressing about this ordinance, so we can
Right.
revisit it at the
All right.
November 29th
So
meeting.
then can we get a roll call?
Okay, if it's just to table, Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mrs. Fandako,
Yes,
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Felice.
No, I don't.
Well, the motion to table passes.
Okay, moving on to ordinance 2022-14, the sewer connection inspection fees. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
Is there discussion? All right, let's go to a vote.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mrs. Fandako,
yes,
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
and Mayor Felice.
Yes,
Motion passes and the public hearing will be on November 29th.
okay, next is ordinance 2022-15, the salary ordinance. Is there a motion to introduce?
so moved.
Second.
And is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a discussion. The way that this was presented to us was that we needed to make some moves in assistant treasurer, finance clerk, payroll clerk ranges. But it seems to me, and this is a question, that the entire ordinance has been rewritten and restructured and regrouped. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yes, Mayor. So the last ordinance had positions all kind of all over the place, all the positions listed, whether they were part-time salaried, stipended, or whatever, it wasn't really clear from that ordinance. So I did is I categorized them based on just that, so we understand what class of employee these positions are. So in places where they are part-time salaried, obviously, that's known. If they're seasonal salaried, if they're stipended, and exactly how those stipends are going to be handled, and more cosmetically as well, and included those positions. And as well, I mean, a salary ordinance really should be something that's a 3 to 5 year document. You have a salary resolution, which is done annually. So the way the salary ordinance, when I was reviewing the positions I put in there, there had been, I think, 4 amendments to your ordinance last year, sort of as needed, and you didn't have one comprehensive document that you could refer to that had all the salaries in one place listed. So I went through all those documents, looked at everybody's salaries in the township, figured out some that may not have been within that range already because they had evolved over time, and broke them down like this. So at least it's neat and gives you 5-year cushion for all these positions.
Sounds good. Can we go to a vote?
Well, I have
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mrs. Fandako,
Yes,
Mr. Lewis,
No.
and Mayor Felice.
Yes.
Motion passes and public hearing on November 29th.
All right, now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the resolutions of the consent agenda with 286 pulled out?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
And is there a roll call?
Mrs. Ewell,
Yes.
Mrs. Fundako,
yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
and Mayor Felice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, resolution 2022-286, supporting car theft legislation. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, discussion?
Just to build on what I said before and, on public comment, I think that this car theft legislation is not strong enough. And we're signaling to the public that we're doing something that in effect, we know really doesn't do very much at all. And I don't think that's very genuine. And I think that we can make a resolution to ask the legislator to do things that are going to be effective, that will have an impact, and that are in line with what law enforcement has asked for and what they need. And to support a bill, support a resolution like this in this state creates a situation where we're passing resolutions just to pass them. We're passing resolutions just because we're partially happy with them. We don't need to do that. We could be fully satisfied with a resolution on a topic as important as car theft, something that we have worked so hard on, and something that continues to be a problem in our community. So I don't think that supporting this car theft legislation in its current form is a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know how you will know that it's not going to be successful in advance when it hasn't even been attempted. But I think the punchline is that this is important. This has to get done, and we have to move the needle in some way, shape, or form. So we have to hit it at all points. This is big business, and we should be hitting it at the state level. We should be hitting it at the federal level. So in my mind, this is us telling to our state legislators, you got to do something. You got to move in the right direction. There's still opportunity to move forward. I mean, there wasn't an expectation they were going to do anything before this point, but they realize that there's a problem. So they're starting to move, and it's bipartisan legislation that even the way it's written now is going to have a difficult time passing. So if we want something more rigorous, I'm guessing it's going to have a harder time of being able to pass. So anything we could do to move the needle, I think would be worthwhile.
So my attitude is more that obviously I want it stronger. There's no question about that. I've made that very clear. I also understand that sometimes you have to be flexible in order to get things done. So my attitude is pretty much let's, pass a resolution that supports that bill. And then we can also pass another one next week or something that says, look, we also want to let you know, we want it stronger because can you at least start the ball rolling on the car theft legislation? There needs to be something.
and see how it works out.
I
Who
mean,
knows if it's gonna make any difference?
I have very low expectations, to be honest with you, and I've said that many times. I don't think it's strong enough. I think it should go a lot stronger.
Sheriff Golden in Monmouth County is calling for something much stronger than this. And I think there's law enforcement throughout the state, which is calling for something much stronger than this. I don't think that this is appropriate. And to get behind this and to have the public think that we've accomplished something that's rigorous enough. The issue is there is not another piece of legislation to attach a resolution to. So we could pass a resolution which would basically have the effect of a proclamation of we would like to do this or that. But if a resolution attached to this specific piece of legislation has an actual chance of making getting some traction because it's something in the wild.
Do you have an amendment that you want to add to this resolution?
I'd like to table this and then put it
I know,
together
but
because there's quite a bit.
Time is of the essence, and we do want to make sure that the state level is on top of it, where we can push it forward as soon as possible. you don't have any type of, verbiage that you want to add to it
We
as
have
is?
Well, I was listening to the public comment tonight and I take that in and I think that that's very important. And I think that our next meeting being on the 15th, it's not far away. Just as you had mentioned earlier on another piece that we're tabling, it's not going to be a big deal to wait 2 weeks. They always say this.
Well, we're not.
There's never enough time to do something, but there's always enough time to do it again. And I don't think that we need to do this again and again. We can get it right for the residents.
It's not about getting it right for the residents. We're not the ones who are taking on the legislation. We're saying, guys, in Trenton, do your job. Do something to fix the car theft problem. So that's not really what the issue is. I believe that time is of the essence on this bill. And I think at least we can get something done. So I'm going to say, we'll go to a vote.
Just to,
Yeah.
sorry, just to be clear, we already have seen improvement by small measures. So there's a dramatic improvement. There were the same amount of attempts this year in car thefts in Chatham Township as there was last year, but there have been fewer cars stolen because people are locking their cars and taking out their key fobs. And so sometimes simple measures will help. And this is a nationwide problem. It's not something that's going to be solved overnight, but I wouldn't discount the small measures and moving in the right direction.
That's a little bit misleading to the public. The truth is that even our own chief said that we don't really control that. We don't have a great idea of the denominator. They have a very good idea of what's going on in this town, but we don't know the denominator. We don't actually know the number of attempts. And that's just because you don't know what you don't know. And we can't possibly know the number of attempts. And to tell people that there's the same number of attempts this year as there was last year is misleading. And that the ratio of cars being stolen. The truth is it did peak. Car thefts did peak in 2021. And we have put a lot of attention on this. But the problem persists. And I don't think putting in a half measure or putting in the throwing the spear that we can throw, but without throwing it as hard as we can throw it, I don't think that's an effective way of moving forward.
Well, I mean, on the other side is we could literally pass a resolution every single meeting saying, hey guys in Trenton, just a reminder, we still want you guys to work on car thefts. Like, I don't think we can literally pass 100 resolutions saying the exact same thing. That has an impact. I mean, we can do whatever we want. That's what we as a governing body have the ability to do. And I don't think it would belittle or not service the residents. I think ultimately the entire purpose of this resolution is to let Trenton know, hey, you guys got to get to work on this. So all right,
you're telling them to get to work.
Mrs. Ewell?
You're telling them to get to work
Yes.
on something that we know
You're
is
out
not
of order,
sufficient.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis
No.
and Mayor Fleece.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, now we are on to our second public comment section of the meeting. And the same rules apply from last time. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Is there anybody online?
No hands raised on Zoom.
All right, then I can close the public comment section, and can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, have a good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for coming.